Good morning everyone and welcome to today's Trading European Open live here at the Live Trade Room. Now today is Wednesday the 17th of October, should I say. So just to give you a brief background behind this particular Live Trade Room, we're professional traders who trade the financial markets with real capital, so you get to see every aspect of our trading decision-making processes, where we look to identify high probability trading opportunities that we can look to capitalize over the course of the trading session ahead of us, where we look to execute trades with a high degree of consistency in our approach, and manage our trades with a high degree of discipline with regards to protecting our capital. So that formulates our approach, and that's what you can expect with one view, and that's to book in profit on a consistent basis through looking to cut our losers short when the markets don't move as we would like them to, but give them the opportunity to run if they are winning trades. So that's what you can expect from us, and we are technical traders as well, so hopefully you'll find the session very useful. So just before we begin, if we could start as we always do with our risk warning, just please do take a brief moment to familiarize yourself with our risk warning currently up on screen. Okay, so before we begin, let's do a quick review of potential market moving news. Then, so we'll have a look at our Forex Factory calendar, and as we scroll through, we've got significant CPI consumer price index data, inflationary data out at 9:30, impacting the British pound. We also have PPI input, which is a monthly figure. So the CPI is the annual figure, and yesterday we had the average earnings. So people's average earnings are beginning to increase, which is obviously a positive, but with a real close, strong eye on inflation as well. So a significant news event at 9:30. So we'll have a look at the pound very, very closely. And it's just important to be aware that we do have the EU Economic Summit, where all European leaders meet, and they discuss a whole range of items, none least the Brexit negotiations as well. So we will be mindful of that. The reason why we would need to have an understanding of that is the fact that a lot of these politicians will speak to the news media after meetings and events, and those comments and commentary is very likely to impact these markets to a considerable extent. So unless you get clearly defined opportunities in something like the euro pound or the euro and the pound markets, then do be mindful of this EU Economic Summit. And it's a 2-day summit, so we have the same issue tomorrow. And as we go through the rest of the afternoon, we've got a lot of sort of medium impact news events. 1:30 impacting, it's all housing data, impacting the US dollar. We have crude oil inventories, which will be interesting to see what number is printed. Last time it was a big miss to the upside, and you can see these particular prints and how they impact. And in fact, the impact of these newsprints is not always correlated. Sometimes you can get positive news, negative price action, negative news, positive price action. So you do need to take that into account. But still, it's a news event to be aware of, certainly if you're trading crude oil inventories. And I suppose something that the market is looking for now is to see the meeting minutes. So it can often be quite a volatile period for the US dollar, where the market gets to see exactly what was said, and they can see if there's any value added to their directional bias with these markets. Okay, so that's just a little overview of the news. So we'll go straight into the charts and let's see what opportunities we can focus on for the session. Now, the dollar at the moment is in a period of indecision. Really, we've had a nice move lower, but it's now over the course of the Asian session, it's rejected quite a lot going into the European session. Similar situation, not an awful lot happening, to be fair, with the US dollar. One market that we will look at is the dollar yen. We've had a small break above it, and we've had a little pullback now. So we do expect this market to continue higher, certainly if we do break above the 112.32 level. So we'll come back to this market here, and we'll see if we get an opportunity to get into that. A lot of the other dollar markets are not really giving us fantastic opportunity this morning, or just yet, should I say. We are probably likely to get a little bit of dollar strength begin to creep in. That's what we've kind of seen so far, but a little bit of that strength is now retraced. I suppose we're still seeing a nice strong move in the New Zealand against the US dollar to the upside. The problem we have with this is you can see the descending level that's just above it. So we don't really want to get in at these levels for this market to sort of hit that and then start its move to the downside. So at every opportunity, we're looking for opportunities to sell this market, and this is potentially stacking up to be another opportunity to actually sell. So it's a case of getting ready for the sell trade. The reason for that is we're clearly in a downtrend. We have been for quite a while now, and there's no reason to suggest that downtrend is over. What would suggest that it's over for the dollar would be if we attempted to make a new low and failed, and created a big strong structural failure off this market, breaking above this, creating a structural failure to the upside, and that at that point in here is when it would be over, or certainly the downtrend would be off the table, just for the foreseeable, but until things change again. So we do know what we're looking to do and how we're looking to do it. We just need the price action to kind of conform with that view. The euro pound, maybe a bit of strength will start creeping in. The problem is we have the EU economic summit, so we don't really want to be probably getting into that. It could be quite a turbulent couple of days for the euro pound. Not much to see here regarding the pound yen. We're seeing a little bit of strength come into the equity story, so we're likely to see these markets or the yen continue to sell off just a little bit, but we shall keep a very, very open mind with it. The gold market is just retracing off these highs a little bit. As you can see, it's just rolling over to the downside. After yesterday was looking quite strong for the majority of the day, and then in the latter part of the trading session we had this really strong rollover to the downside, and today we've got some continuation. So if this market could move back to the 1214, that would be between the 1214 and the 1210, let's say, somewhere between this level, then it might give us the next leg to the upside. So not really a great trade to work with just yet, but could be very, very shortly. So the oil markets, it's not as clear cut really with the US oil. This is a little bit kind of range bound. It's still sticking to our ascending level, but we do have the 72.72, which is an important level, but it's still quite away from the current price action we're seeing in US oil. UK oil, what we're looking for is the potential for this market to break above the 8200 effectively. Yeah, the 8200. So need this market just breaking above the 8210, and that would turn this slightly negative candlestick into a bullish candlestick, and we're likely to get a little bit of an impulsive move to the upside. So we'll come back to the UK oil market. The S&P is another one. We quite like the idea of continuation to the upside. Most of this move occurred sort of post 4 o'clock yesterday UK time, so a little bit difficult. You know, we were looking for a break above this market, above the 27.75, and now we're up at the 28.20 levels. So we do expect this market to continue higher for the short term. So we'll definitely have a look at this market as well. We've now just broken above this level. So let's see if we get a bit of a pullback. We might look to get into it to the long side. And we'll stick with the S&P 500 just for now, even though we're getting momentum across all of these US equities. Probably momentum is not the right word. We're getting continuation to the upside. We would like to see more momentum pushing prices higher, and maybe that's the case over the course of the day. So the UK 100, just coming off these highs here, the 70.93, which was the formal close of the gap, and we've now bounced off that level and started to reverse a little bit lower. So we shall see if some pound strength starts to continue against the US dollar. We're likely to see this market continue lower. The problem is we're getting conflicting data across other global equities like the Euro stocks and the US equities, so we don't really want to go against. We would like to go with the groove rather than against it. So this is our trade plan then for the session. So we're looking for an opportunity to buy the dollar yen. We just need to be sort of mindful of the price action as things currently stand. So we'll come into it. We'll have another look at this very shortly. We'll have a look at the UK oil market. We'll have a look at this top right. So we like the idea of this pushing higher eventually. We'll also have a look at the S&P. So we can look at this bottom right. And the other market as well for us to look at. We spoke last night in our daily trade watch, for those of you that receive our daily trade watch. We spoke about continuation to the upside in the US equities and also in the dollar yen. And I guess we should just monitor the euro dollar just to see what's happening with this market. So what we'll do is we'll just bring the dollar yen So we'll have a look at the euro on the daily time frame. So that's yesterday's low of 1563, and we're currently above that low. So let's see how price behaves at that level. We'll have a look at the dollar yen versus the S&P. If we get continuation to the upside, we're likely to get a bit of selling creeping into the yen, meaning this market has every potential to continue to move forward. It's not doing so at the moment, but it doesn't mean that it won't do later on. So we'll have a look at this price action carefully. We'd like to see a nice pullback. If it could come back to the 28.16, that would be good for us. So let's keep an eye on the euro dollar just to see what's. In fact, another interesting market would actually be the euro pound, just to see how it reacts to the EU summit. But I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll just put the euro pound there in the background. And we'll stick the euro dollar just above it. So we'll keep flicking to it. Okay, so let's see how we're going to trade these markets then. So this is our ability to stack the odds in our favor by identifying high probability trade opportunities. And you can see what we have going on here. We've firmly, I hope you would agree, we firmly have a consolidated market for a few days now, for probably 6 days in total. Little gap to the upside, which is quite interesting. So there's still, over the weekend, there was still an appetite for these prices to push higher. And what we're suggesting is a confirmed break above 82.10 roughly could give us a nice move to the upside. I do appreciate as well that with this price action in here, we could equally get a little bit of a move lower. The problem is with a move lower is we have potential lots of support below these levels. So the high probability trade at this point in time would be to the upside in the UK oil market. So just taking note of this high just in here. And if we get a bit of a reversal and a strong push to the upside, then we can absolutely look to get into this. I suppose just to clarify, I suppose the reason why we're looking closely at a buy trade is that we've bounced off this high. We've had a nice strong pullback to a previous level of support, and now we're suggesting that we're going to get the next move to the upside. Although we fully appreciate we might get a day of selling creeping in, and this period of consolidation might continue for longer. That's absolutely a very, very likely outcome as well. So just to clarify, it's only if we get this price breaking above 82.10 are we interested in buying it. We're not interested in buying it below that level. So it just means we might need to be a little bit patient with it, and see if we can get that little breakout move to the upside. So that's the UK oil, Brent oil. Moving on to the S&P. So yesterday we were looking for a break above the 27.75, and it occurred over the course of yesterday evening. We had a really strong explosive move in the end yet again, and I suppose it's important to say as well that it was the same time that we saw the strong devaluation in the same sort of 4-hour period. So so a really strong move in the end during lighter market conditions. So what we're suggesting is really continuation to the upside. That's really the trade. We do have a fairly concise sort of level of support. So if you've got a pullback and we've got a turnaround at the 28.16, we've got a 28.10 to place a stop loss, and with the expectation for this market to continue higher. So that's quite a straightforward trade. Let's see if we get a proper pullback and not sort of a half-hearted pullback really on this trade. Let's look at it on different time frames. So there we go. So a proper pullback, and it allows us to get into this to the upside. So we can zoom in nice and tight because we know the price that this market, we would like this market to move towards. So this is an interesting one. The dollar yen. Previous market coming from highs, so this has every potential to continue lower, but let me explain the idea behind the trade. Is that we've been pulling back from, and this is on a daily time frame, from the 114.53 back to the 11.61, which is a really strong, this red line here is a really strong 111.82 level of resistance, preventing prices from pushing higher, and it's the natural sort of level for this market to actually pull back to, which is what we've got. And we're just now seeing if we get continuation to the upside. So again, if I just zoom into the 15-minute time frame, we look at this daily time frame and just see the high of this market, which is the 112.33. We're only a little bit below that level as we speak. but we need a structural failure to the upside. So we want this market to fail to make a new low, even if it pushes a bit lower. We want this market to fail, and then we want it to potentially break the new high, and that could give us an opportunity for this market to continue higher. So we can look for that structural failure whenever that arrives. So I get the feeling we might need to be a little bit patient with today's trading. That's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like there's that much volatility and momentum just yet. We've got the EU Economic Summit. Who knows what comes from that? Now we've got the euro dollar just extending lower, and that's quite interesting because we're in a downward market. We've had a bit of a pullback, and now we're potentially getting some continuation to the downside. And it's not necessarily correlated either. So let's have a look at this on a smaller time frame. So we've rejected the highs, we've had structural failures, a couple of structural failures to the downside. I suppose this roughly is the game changer, which is a little bit lower, it's 1336. But we are now beneath yesterday's low. Which is quite interesting. So we've had a nice pullback off the lows, back to previous resistance, and we're getting this extended move lower. So this market has bounced off the 1540, 49 or the 1550 level, which is an important level. So if we get continuation lower from here, it might be worth, just purely from a price perspective, to see this market continue lower, and it would represent a decent quality trade down to these lower prices. And on a daily time frame, we are kind of trying to go with yesterday's rejection and this market rolling over. So I think that's what we're going to look to do. We are getting that extension lower as we speak. Okay, so we are going to look to get into the euro dollar as well. We do have the 1550 level just in here, which can provide support again, and we were potentially looking to just sell just above 1550 level. So we'll look for the next opportunity to get into the euro dollar. It would have been nice to have got in sort of around the 1560 level. So we're only a few pips lower, and we could still get a little bit of a pullback to that level, the 1565, before we get that extended move to the downside. So potentially a trade in the pipeline. The euro is beginning to strengthen a little bit. That's a bit confusing now. So maybe we get a trade with a bit of dollar strength beginning to creep back into these markets. Getting the pullback on the S&P. So I suppose there's it's probably safer to be patient between the 15.58 and the 15.48, just a 10 pip kind of move there. See, this market is really struggling to sell off. So this market might give us a nice move above the 112.29. So the two levels I'm just going to look at for the oil market is between the 82.10 and the 81.45. And now we look like we're getting a little bit closer to the strong pullback that we'd like to see. Somewhere back to this level. So we have a few opportunities beginning to set themselves up. So this now qualifies quite a strong pullback. So the next sort of turnaround trade we can look to get into this. So that's the next opportunity for this market to sort of create a little bit of indecision or a little bit of bullish price action coming into it. We can look to get into it. So let's go into the euro dollar as well on a smaller time frame, and the same with the dollar yen. So you can see this little high in here, the 112.29. That's what we'd be looking to see if we can get a breakout of, and relatively small stop loss as well, so happy to take the breakout trade in this instance. We've been moving sideways for quite a long period, so hopefully the rest of the European market is looking at this 112.29 and we get a bit of momentum to the upside above that level. So the S&P is back to our level. So we do have this low just a few pips below it. So what we would ideally like in this market is a nice strong pullback, at which point we might look to sell it at a much higher level. So we're just creating this bit of a W formation in this market. So we'll see. So it does look like a bit of dollar strength is beginning to creep back into the market, so that's quite good. We have a little bit of consolidation at this level, but we kind of want the consolidation to kind of hold if we are to get into it. So I just posted up there in the chat function, so do feel free to post any comments you have, any trade ideas, any kind of likes and dislikes about any of these markets, or any commentary at all really. Do feel free to post it and do interact. The euro dollar is just bouncing back. We'd like it to bounce back to the 15.65, then we might look to get into it from a slightly higher price. So all of these markets are potentially getting close to giving us a good opportunity. Let me So just to clarify, we would ideally like a little bit of a pullback if we can into this level of resistance before we get that next move lower. We're very close now to the, there we go, the breakout trade. So let's go straight in. And we can get into this market at this price, so 0.1, which is our trade size that we look to buy, and let's get into that market now. 21. So we'll just put it at the 18 level. So again, we've just got a 12 pip exposure in this trade, with the potential for it to continue higher. So I can take this off. So this is very much a breakout trade to the upside. This is a bit of a pullback trade. Again, we've got a nice, well-reasoned breakout trade in the UK oil market, and this is a potential area in here for the pullback trade as well in the S&P. So let me take Take that off again. So a couple of pullback trades, a couple of breakout trades, which we're quite happy to get into. We're getting the pullback now. Oops. And the euro dollar just at a slightly higher price. The only concern we have about the euro dollar is the EU economic summit. So we're going to look to get into, as soon as we get a little bit of selling price action start to come into this market, we'll get into it and place a stop loss just above the 1571. So again, quite a small, concise stop loss in this, 0.1 again. So let's see if we just get a little tick lower at these prices. Right, let's get into this market then now. So we're in the dollar yen to the upside and the euro dollar to the downside. So we're looking at a little bit of a dollar strength move, hopefully over the course of the session. So the high is the 1571, so we want this to be at 1574, so just above the high, so we break higher. But I mean that's the basic kind of move, is the pullback trade and just a continuation lower. So we're actually getting in kind of a lot higher than these kind of lows, just sitting in here. So all we did was capitalize on a bit of a pullback in that trade. Let's see if we get that continuation lower. So we're getting also, it might be worth looking at a bit of a movement in this one. At this kind of price in here. So what we can do is we can take that level, we can take this level and suggest that, right, well, we're now moving sideways for 10-15 minutes. Breakout to the upside is our pullback trade. Breakout lower, potentially we back off the trade a little bit more. And we're not quite that close to the UK oil, so we can continue to look at it on a 15-minute time frame. first thing for the euro dollar is to break below, technically to break below the 15.55, then we're likely to push lower. It's also likely to potentially support. If we get a little bit of a bounce in this market, what we're doing is we're buying the US equities and we'll be selling the yen, which works well. It's a correlated trade, so one should support the other. And what it means is we're kind of doubling up on the move. So we're cognizant of the fact that they're correlated, and we're suggesting that one is likely to drag the other one with it. So I'm just seeing if there's any kind of news coming out regarding the EU summit. It's likely to be a little bit of a turbulent day. You would anticipate not much in the sense of great news for the euro. You would imagine it'd be, trying to thrash out effectively a way forward. So we're getting little pullbacks now in both of these markets. Structural failure on a 1 minute time frame. Breaking higher. Technically the same to the downside for the dollar yen. We're still in this sort of sideways zone really, and we're only 3 pips off the high as far as the dollar yen's concerned, so probably 8 pips off the low here. So now we're just getting that pullback to the 1565 level, which is fine. Sorry about that. Apologies. Sorry, I just put you on mute there just for a few seconds, but I was just talking about just clarifying this particular high just in here. So there we go. In fact, the more near-term level is kind of where we're currently at now. We're probably just above that level. So so now we have the potential to get into this to the upside. Let's just see if we get a close above this level. Got a few minutes before the close of the 15-minute. So let's just see if we get a close above that level, then it might be worth getting into. So we're getting the US equities just selling off a little bit. Let's see what this looks like on a daily time frame. Just coming back below yesterday's low, so that's obviously not really what we'd like to see. It will allow us to just back off it. We are just currently seeing a pullback though, just off those highs. So on a 15-minute time frame, so maybe we see a level of support coming in just at these lower levels. So we'll see when we get this support creeping in. So this move here is likely to contribute to this sell-off for the yen to strengthen a little bit. And the euro dollar, it's coming back to the 15.65, which is the level that we would like to have got into this market. Now we got into it a little bit lower, so we're getting close to the 15-minute close. So let's see if we get some continuation in this market. I am very conscious of the time, guys. We do need to switch across now to the live trade room. These are the markets. We're currently in a sell trade in the euro dollar and a buy trade actually in the dollar yen. We've still got these levels of support, but obviously some strength is creeping into the yen now. So we'll have a look and see what the reason for that is, and as a result, we can kind of stay out now for the S&P 500. So we've still got this market still has to work quite hard in order to stop us out, and we do have a really controlled, defined risk on this market. So it's a 12 pip trade. So very comfortable with that level of exposure with this market, and we still expect it even to be held up at these lows down here. So let's give it a bit more time and see how we get on with that trade. Same for the euro dollar. We're only a few pips above our entry level, so we would still expect this lower just purely from a technical perspective, but we don't really want these prices trading close to the 1570 or anything like that. So we'll have to wait and see if we get these opportunities. We're also looking to buy the UK oil market, so we're going to switch across now to the live trade room. Please do, if you're not a member of the live trade room, please do take us up on our 14-day free trial, which you can see in the link below. You're very welcome to take us up on that, and if you do decide to stay on, then it only requires there's just a fee of $9.99 for you to access up to 76 live trade rooms per calendar month. So we do hope you'll find it incredible value. No contract, no obligation of any kind. So we do hope you'll find it a very, very useful and profitable service for you. Please do feel free to connect with us. Do subscribe to our channel if you can, and click the bell function. You'll be notified in terms of when we go live every day. And you can also connect with us through our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. The details are all there up on the screen. So all that's left for me to do now is to thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully you can join us over at the Live Trade Room. So do have a look through our website as well, www.TheLiveTradeRoom.com, and see what products and services we have available for our traders. So thanks very much. Take care, and we look forward to, we're back again at 1 o'clock through our YouTube channel. So we look forward to seeing you then. For everyone here, bye for now.